Okay. We are going to now do how to understand an Aquarian man. Part 2. Okay. Again, we were talking about fixed air, right? And how fixed air is a pocket, right? Like if you go to Washington D.C., if you go to Seattle, these cities are in a basin. If you go to the Mohawk Valley in Ithaca, New York, if you go to the Grand Canyon, right, which is all a depression of the different rock formation, but it's basically a depression, and the air that sits in the Grand Canyon, it circulates. All kinds of airs, north, east, south, and west, converge in the Grand Canyon, and then there are vortices that are created. And these vortices are the meeting station of all the four winds that converge. The same thing can be said of the American Midwest and tornadoes. Do you know what causes a tornado? And why you don't find them in the East Coast or in the West Coast, in the South, nor in the northern portion of the United States? Of course, they're appearing everywhere now, but that's because of the concept of global warming and the fact that we have destroyed the Earth's natural shielding because of so many carbon emissions and so many other pollutants that we have put in the atmosphere that have caused holes and have weakened our electromagnetic grid on the Earth. That's the only reason why tornadoes are happening all over the place now. But that usually wasn't the case before. If you know anything about geology and genetic science that deals with the different plates of the Earth and the way that the Earth, the currents of the Earth are distributed. Birds don't just follow the east wind. There are many species of birds that fly according to an electromagnetic current, which direct the birds to fly in a certain direction, usually an easterly and westerly direction. But the reason why we have tornadoes in the American Midwest is because you have two pockets of air coming from opposite polarities of the planet. And when they come together, they crash and they create a vortex. And some of these electromagnetic currents within the American Midwest, in which a lot of these airs converge and actually crash, become then a center of a magnetic pole, which causes the rise of tornadoes. That's why you have what's called Tornado Alley and a certain strip that cuts across the American Midwest. That's fixed air. And the storms of a tornado, the inner workings of a tornado, it was only just recently that we have discovered, scientists, the actual pressure that goes on inside a tornado. They've actually measured it. But this is a new technology. This was not common knowledge in the 80s. It wasn't common knowledge in the 90s. It's something that was always a mystery. No one could get inside of a tornado or get equipment in there without killing yourself or destroying the equipment because of the powerful force that went into a tornado. Thank God that now, due to in 2017, they actually made a movie out of it with Helen Hunt, I believe it is. About I think it was called Twister, in which it was actually based on true events in which they actually got to be able to put like the Dorothy, and they put it inside the tornado, if you remember the movie, and they were able for the first time in human history able to measure the pressure and speed of a tornado from inside its vortex. Because if you know more about a tornado or a twister and what causes it to happen, there are better ways to control it. Unfortunately, that has not been the case. A tornado is still as complex and as unpredictable and as untamable as it was when we didn't know the actual pressures of a tornado or what it caused to create them. This is one of the great terrifying secrets of nature. That explains Aquarius. Fixed air. So, like the tornadoes and storms of Jupiter and Uranus and the winds of Neptune, you cannot control these powerful currents and forces and vortices. So too, you cannot control the personality and ego of the Aquarian man. A little rum and coke, a little vodka and coke, So understand off the bat that the Aquarian man is untamable. You cannot tame a tornado or a twister. There's no way you can do it. You have to get out of the way. If you still can. Most people don't survive a tornado. Understand that. Most people don't survive a hurricane or a tsunami right in the eye of the storm. The Bermuda Triangle. The ships that disappear in the Bermuda Triangle, the ships, that's a Pisces mystery because it's in the ocean. But when the planes disappear from the air, entering some wormhole as they describe it, and these men are never seen again and these planes are never seen again, like the famous Flight 19 of World War II that just went into the Bermuda Triangle. It was a fleet of planes and just disappeared from existence. That's Aquarius. There's a vacuum that stretches from Puerto Rico to Bermuda to the tip of Florida and back. It's a triangle. That fixed air, planes disappear and never seen again. They're going to another dimension. I want you to understand the cosmic principle of Aquarius. Everything about Aquarius is otherworldly. The planet sits on it sideways. You got parts of air in the ethers of space where you got extraterrestrials. And then here on Earth, if you don't believe in the extraterrestrial theory, at least you know that for at least 100 somehow years, planes disappear on this particular grid in the Caribbean of our planet. And nobody knows why. The hell, extraterrestrials explain that. That's Aquarius. We don't know what it is, and we are frightened of it. Just like we don't know what UFOs are. That's what we call them, unidentified flying objects. So therefore, we don't know the true nature and personality of the Aquarian man. You have to enter a relationship with an Aquarian man, having that as a precursor. Because if you don't, you're up for a rough ride, a rude awakening, and a devastating fall. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. So we're going to jump right in, and we're going to go into more specifics of the personality and ego of the Aquarian man. He is different than other men that you have ever seen or known or experienced, okay? This man is incredibly masculine, sexy, sensual, but completely unaware of how much he is so. Okay? He vibrates a childlike innocence, which women find irresistible. Men do also. Like Leo, these men are often approached by other men, for sexual experiment. The circle jerk, in which a group of boys get together and compare their penis sizes and engage in circle jerks, no doubt that begins with Leo. Okay? It begins with the Leo man, the sign of the sex symbol. So Mr. Aquarius will vibrate this polarity. Yeah. The more quiet he is, the more sensual he'll vibrate. Any vision you may have had of him in your mind will be exactly what you've imagined when you fantasize about getting this man. He delivers and then some. Now, when it comes to the emotions, okay, of an Aquarian man, okay, and expressing them particularly, okay, well, that's another complicated story. Okay, love to Mr. Aquarius is an enigma that he himself can't define or put into words. Yeah, it really does something to him. If he shows in his behavior that he doesn't like you and acts like he don't even like you don't even exist because he dismisses you, or he acts dismissively towards you, or worse, ignores you, that means that he is really fond of you, that he really likes you, but won't show his feelings to you. Okay? He, like Mr. Scorpio, will be good at probing and discovering or making you expose your feelings to them. But you won't be able to do the same for him. You won't be able to get access to his feelings. Okay? He will not open up to you emotionally. Okay? He likes to keep you guessing. He derives, a lot of pleasure, from that. Yeah. He is quite observant and can become intellectually arrogant and quite prejudiced of other people's intelligence. But he will never admit it. He'll just know that if you are someone that is functioning in a particular level of intellect that he considers inferior or he doesn't care for, then that's it. You're gone, done. Yeah, that's how he is. He considers everyone he meets his friend. Like Mr. Gemini, he is quite social, engaging, and even considers his enemies his friends. Yeah. He is very, you have to have really done something fucked up for this man to be an enemy of yours. Because he really does like everybody. Okay? And therefore, he listen, he like Uranus, a rogue planet, came from another solar system, right? With its own star embedded in its imprint, because it came from such a star. We don't even know what star it came from. It functions at the beat of a different drum. This man even considers his enemies his friends. But you see, I'm going to tell you why, and this is the cosmic part of Mr. Aquarius. He understands on a spiritual or cosmic level that we are all one. He understands the concept of the human family. See? He understands on a subconscious level that we are the body of God. And therefore, the experience of each other, whether a sister, a mother, a friend, a teacher, or a stranger, it's all eventually relative. Eventually, Mr. Aquarius is a fraud. He refuses to feel and express and experience because in his mind, all is relative. And that's kind of tough. That's kind of tough to put everybody in the same basket. I'm sorry, but I'm not going to compare my sister to my girlfriend. Or treat my girlfriend like my sister and treat my sister like my girlfriend. You know? No. To him, even family members, extended family members, you know, these are the men that will have sex with their own cousins. Second, third cousins. Like Gemini. Because to them, you know, genetics or non-genetics is all relative to them, which is kind of dangerous. And in the mythology of humanity, human incest began in Gemini. Yeah. So this concept is very prevalent with the air signs, you know, where everything and everyone is relative, you know, and that doesn't leave room for the emotional body, you know. This philosophy of treating everyone relatively, because we're all relative, kind of waters down the importance of having an emotional life, an emotional significance. He's quite content in functioning like a computer. All is processed, dissected, evaluated, and a synthesis is created that only simulates a philosophy of life in which all can be explained away with no input on the emotions. The Aquarian man dismisses emotions as a necessary experience of the human condition. He believes that you can derive and arrive at the actual holy grail of the human experience without the emotion. Yeah, in truth, he rejects it because it is the one faculty of the human mind he cannot figure out. That's why. Which means that everything else that comes out of his mouth is bullshit. It's really because he cannot control it. He can't figure it out. And if you can't figure it out, you can't control it. And that terrifies him. Okay? Still, though, he can be tricked into an emotional relationship. But the woman who accomplishes this has got to be a clever bitch. She gotta be a clever bitch. She better know what she's doing. Okay? If you want to bag this very sexy air type of man for your own delights, you better study him and observe him. Okay? That's the call of the day. Don't believe what he tells you. He has a standard code of ethics which he will demand that you follow or respect. He, on the other hand, will do something else. He holds double standards for people, but he doesn't follow what he preaches either. Okay? Aquarius is the sign of, like Mr. Sagittarius, of the false prophet. Oh yeah. So is Pisces, but for different reasons. Pisces is being mischievous. While Aquarius is being deceptive in order to hide who he really is. Okay? At least Mr. Pisces doesn't have a problem with his emotions, while Mr. Aquarius does. Okay? He's a group man. Another thing that you have to understand that you have to like really grasp is that he is a group man. And as a group man, he is going to be completely group oriented. In fact, I won't be surprised if you meet him in a social group or a social setting. Because he's always like Mr. Gemini and Mr. Libra. The air signs, you will most likely find them in such venues and localities, festivities, libraries, universities, places where there's always a traffic and a flux of people. because that's really where they function. You know, these men don't do well interpersonally. So understand off the bat that he's a group man. Okay? He does his best work or functions at his best when he's involved with groups, or it's involving group projects, or it's involving teamwork. Okay, he's very much about teamwork and not particularly working on an intimate or interpersonal relationship. You know, he is quite impersonal and emotionally indifferent when in an interpersonal situation. Not because he doesn't intrinsically care on a human level. He can make sense of it. He can't control it though. He can try to make sense of it, but he can't control it in the end. So therefore, because he cannot control it, he will dismiss it. See? When he meets people, he gives them a certain valuation. Like when you evaluate a company to see how much it's worth. Well, he does that. Like Mr. Taurus. He puts a label on people of value. Oh, this one is valued at index 10. This one I will pay more attention to and be more inclined to hear what he has to say. Oh, well, this one is a 5. This one is a 2. Oh, I'm not even concerned. I wouldn't even look that direction. So he can be like the lion, the opposite polarity. He can be prideful, arrogant, intellectually arrogant, an intellectual bully, and an aristocratic bigot. Yeah, that's in him. That's in him. You know, and he can use that to be very indifferent in any situation. Okay? When he meets people, like I said, this is what he does. He does evaluation. Okay? Most of us will cherish those closest to us. But not Mr. Aquarius. He gives everyone an equal value. He doesn't differentiate between your family or your friends or your significant other. He puts them all in the same batch. Yeah, he does. So then one doesn't feel more special than the other. And that kind of doesn't really work when it comes to interpersonal relationships with Mr. Aquarius. In order to seduce him, you can't use the tactics that you would any other man. It doesn't work with him. Okay? He feels no different emotionally towards his own girlfriend than he does his own brother. Of platonic girlfriend that he doesn't have sex with. And look, that makes for a great friend. He's a great friend. But not a very good lover. Not a very good boyfriend. No, let me take it back. He could be a fantastic lover. Opposite sign is Leo. Okay, the sex symbol. These guys know how to have sex. They're good. Okay? Not like Mr. Pisces who takes the cake. But yes, he is very, very much skillful in that department. What he's not skillful on or in is the emotional intimacy that is required, that a woman needs after the sex, and before the sex, and during the sex. If he really cares for her, he probably would endure it during. But he's not very good in that area. You know, a lot of insecurity here, and he just doesn't know how to get past it. No, doesn't know how to get past it. You know, so what do you have to do emotionally? You're going to have to find a way to bag this Aquarian man in a very impersonal way, because he's not going to get it. And it takes him a while to get it, to grow up. And that completes the air signs.